Hold on. Hey, so welcome. Welcome to Check Your Life Be Limitless podcast, the place where we distance ourselves away from what separates, discriminates, and produce hate, to run towards a consciousness that welcomes, embraces, relates, and produce inclusive love to live a limitless life. I am the limitless host that does the most. Some call me Dr. James Williams, but you can call me James. This is episode 4. This is season 4, episode 3, and we have a real treat today. I got my boy Bino Wallace. Everybody know him as Bino. So he's a brother that I met in the gym, man, to just share a lot of knowledge and jewels with me. I fell in love with this individual. So this is my first time having somebody on the show live, and I had to have him up here. And what we're going to do is really just have a casual conversation where it could go into anything with God, race, etc. But the thing that I really like about him, he's a great individual, but he's a sentient being, really on this evolutional path. And at this time, Bino, I want to give you an opportunity to let the world know who you are. You maybe can even tell them about how we met and why you're kind of excited to be on this show.
Yeah, absolutely, James. First and foremost, hey, thank you so much for having me on. This is a treat for myself as well. So, love you just the same, my friend. I consider myself a somewhat entrepreneur in the area. I have built a pretty decent relationship within the fitness industry around, and I think that's where most folks know me, just through the fitness industry. Also venture into a couple businesses here and there. And, I'm a busy man. I have 2 beautiful young boys and a beautiful wife. And so I have the family time, work time, lifetime, gym time, you name it. It's all in my day. So, I was truly blessed. James, I can't put a pinpoint on when you and I actually met, but I will say this, man. It seems like forever ago. And, you and I have built this relationship, and it's just been so easy, which is so crazy. And I think you would agree to that.
Yeah. And it's funny hearing Bino talk, man, because, look, he's a humble guy. It's so much that he does. He has the Knox Classic here. This guy has gave me so much insight on how to count my macros, how to train. So when you're looking at his body, just realize – a lot of that success come from this guy over here, Bino, man. I listen to him. But, Bino, I want you, one thing that I was telling you about and what we tend to talk about is this whole limitless mindset. And it kind of ties into what you just said. And I'm going to say this before we go there, that this is going to be a casual conversation. I'm going to ask questions, but I'm really just trying to, get you to talk. So I just want people to know that we're going to go on for about an hour and see where this goes. But I have this whole limitless approach that means, how do we see each other beyond form, beyond these social constructs of white, black? And I think me and you both agree when we talk, man, it's like I'm talking to your spirit. Like our spirits knew each other before we enter these bodies. So what does that mean? Or, what kind of come to your mind when you think of things like that, and even how we relate and how we met?
Yeah, actually, I have to agree with you because, I think, I truly believe that God puts people in their lives for a reason, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think we learn from each and every one of those people that do come through our lives and travel on the path with us. James, you carry how do I want to put this, an aura that is just infectious. Oh, you have this ability to walk in a room and everybody just brightens up. And I'm not saying this because you and I are brothers and friends. I'm saying this because it's the truth. I've witnessed it many, many times especially when you come into the gyms in the morning, people lighten up. They see you coming, man. You've always got that smile on your face. You're open, and you have that, hey, what's going on, man? How are you today? And you remember so much. And even, the past couple of days before as we were scheduling this particular call, I've watched you. I watch you a lot, just so you know, just because, I learn from those that are positive and great mentors. And I was watching you, and it's you make eye contact with so many folks, and you throw a hand up or whatever it may be. You may be across the gym, and you can see that someone catches your eye, and you make sure that you do some type of welcoming gesture towards them. So to your point, yes, our paths crossed because God wanted us to be in this kind of conversation together.
Man, it's crazy that you say that. Honestly, man, you made me emotional. I tell people as I get older, you get more emotional. I used to be this guy that want to be tough, but it's funny, we talk about these things too, about the symbology of what's good, what's bad, and I kind of feel like, well, and you say this as well. Well, are they really bad? Do you want to go into a little bit more about kind of when we had a conversation about good and bad, and just so people can understand where we're coming from? Because I do believe in that spiritual thing. This God connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing that I think that you and I have the ability of doing is we see through the good and the bad, and we see the true soul of the person. I think we can witness to those, and you have the same ability as I. We can approach anyone, race, creed, color, it doesn't matter. We can approach anyone and have a symbolic conversation of some sort. And that is something that you and I have been blessed with. Some people, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, but some people are standoffish. But I'll have to say this, and I think you have mentioned this before. When I was a little boy, there was several times that it happened to me. And then finally I recognized it. But I could be in like a checkout line, and I could read someone and be like, all it took was just, how are you doing today? And that's just all it took. And they would open up, and they would pour their feelings out to me. And again, this is as I was a small child. And as I've progressed through life, I keep that as a mental positive thing, because you never know what that person is going through. It's good or bad, like you and I are talking about. So everyone needs to learn how to recognize that, because you don't know what that person is going through when they say something or do something, or their mannerisms. You need to be thoughtful about how that person's day is really going before you overreact or react, whichever way you want to look at it.
You said something, Bino, and a couple of things. Cause I want people to understand, when we're talking about being limitless, we're talking about going beyond what you've been domesticated to believe, to where you just like people that look like you, or find people that's in your silos and things of that nature. And I agree with Bino. I genuinely love people. And people may say, well, what about a person that's racist? And I say, well, a lot of times that's what they was taught to believe. So I do still love them. Their spirit, to me, I still believe is an extension of God. We're all connected. I feel like your flesh, you start picking up patterns and you feed it, and your flesh could be believe in a certain way, and we can deem that as bad. But I always believe the spirit has an opportunity to turn back towards God. And I think that's what this thing is really about. And I agree. When you meet people, man, you have an opportunity. When you look at them, you're looking through everything it is that you're taught to see, and you're looking into their spirit, so you can connect with their soul. So you leave them with an impression that they will always remember. So I do totally agree with that. When you think about working out, so what is the spirituality or the limitless aspect you think working out brings you, and how it can bring you to meet people like how we met?
Yeah, listen, man, I put a lot of thought into this right here. Here's the beautiful thing about the gym, and I think you would totally agree. No one sees anyone any different for the most part. We are all in there for the same exact goal. And at the end of the day, when we're in there together, we are all in there together. It doesn't, again, it goes back to, it doesn't matter what your race is or any of that. What it is it's a family. We all become a family in an instant. And in the gym, and this is across the nation, across the world, everyone has that gym family that you can turn to and feed off of. And again, we have a gym family. You and I, listen, dude, we walk in the gym and it just happens. I mean, it's just instantaneous, but you know how we connect with each and every person that we see through there. So again, I love how the gym erases. It's like when you come through that door, dude, it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, or anything. We're all in acceptance at that point.
And for anybody that's struggling to say, hey, I can't go into the gym, people are going to look at me. I want you to remember what Bino said. He is absolutely right. I could be in Tampa. I could be in San Diego. I could be in Atlanta. I could be in Charlotte. And when you go in that gym, people look at you, and especially if they know that you're in there and you're trying to get something out of it. Because the gym will teach you failure. It will teach you success because you can't beat the gym. It's going to be a weight that you can't push. It's going to be a weight that, even if you push it a lot, eventually you're going to go to failure. But there will become a time when you will be able to push that weight. So you'll be able to see the success and people see your growth. And we're all working on this collective goal. What if we had that collective goal in our society, Bino? How would our politics look? Like, how would our, religion, like, what are your thoughts on that? What if we could take that gym mentality, make that microcosm or macrocosm of our society? What would that look like?
Well, wouldn't that be glorious, man, if we were able to do that, James? Because what we have in that little building, that small amount of square footage, if we were to have that same type of feeling and outreach as you walked out to society, we would have a whole different outlook to life and how we live each and every day and how we treat one another each and every day. I mean, again, I don't understand it, why it takes that doorway. Why can't we open those doors and it become that way everywhere, man? It is so mind-boggling to me. Well, but if we really want to put nuts to bolts here, let's look at it this way though, real quick, James, is think of it like this. A lot of people are driven by the social medias and the media and things. If we could extract some of that negative noise and really take a big look at the big picture of where we are, things would look so much differently for all of us. And I think that's some of the things that we all have to take advantage of and try to look through that instead of looking at that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
No, I do. I agree with that. And you actually made me kind of think about the whole idea of, like, I don't know if you said this to me in the gym before, like, it all starts inside out, right? When you go into the gym, even though it is this family, you're really focusing on working on yourself. Mm-hmm. And all of your gym friends, they become that support. But for some reason, when we get out in society, we become individuals, but it's individuals focused on acquiring external things. It's not about improving yourself. I feel like in a gym, yeah, you're going to have some come in and they're stylish, but nobody care about your clothes. They care about how you building that muscle. They care about how you losing that weight or how you trying to maintain. Like, and those are your individual goals, but it's very personal. And it has nothing to do with any external accolades unless you're preparing for a show. But in there, in between that wall and that space and that time that you're grinding and you're pushing, none of those things matter. And I think if we was able to create a society where when you're in your job, you're focusing on how am I being the best individual so I can have the best service, I'm creating the best product that I could be proud of. And then you let the external take care of the external. I love working on my body. But when I go to the beach or whatever, being able to take my shirt off, that's just a reward. But I'm not doing it for that. It's cool that I do get people looking at my body of that nature, but that's not why I do it. So I wonder, is there any way that we could create that type of relationship from the gym to the work environment? Because it is competitive, but I feel like it's a different dog-eat-type dog world. You know what I mean?
It is. Well, and I think the reason why it's different from the gym to your work life is because there's a common goal in the gym. You know what I mean? There's a common goal. When you get into the work life, there's separation from that common goal. There are lots of different goals and aspirations. So we have to look at it again from a different lens, because at that point, you know, you got to find that place of relativity that everyone can be a part of. And I'm not sure if it's religion. I'm not sure if it's safe space. I'm not sure if it's life happenings. I'm not sure what that lens is, but that's the disconnect that I think that we've got to figure out, that piece. How do we flip that piece and bring that into the workplace to where we all feel like it's a safe space, a good, comfortable place?
And I think Bino is saying something. I hope leaders are really listening to what he's saying. If you can find a way to create an inclusive environment, and this requires inclusive leadership, how do I make sure that my employees are excited to be here and they see themselves a part of the organization? And I could create an inspired shared vision where they see that, hey, this is us growing. It's not just the boss. It's not just the manager, the executive level managers or mid-level managers. We all are growing together, and we can create a common goal, but individuals can still thrive and grow in that. Then you can create something that's very similar to the gym, you know. And I think there are some businesses that does that, you know, that do that, that's able to create that experience. But I think we got to be very careful about trying to create that common goal. With that being said, how do you create that, you know, with your kids, your wife? Like, how do you create that in your family? Because I've been married 24 years, and it's an ebb and flow, and it can be challenges in it, but it's very, very rewarding at the same time. So how do you make sure you create that family loving, supportive environment?
You know, for me and my family, we're grassroots. Let me say that. We're at a point that we eat dinner together every night. We sit down, we turn the television off, we talk about our day, we talk about how things went, good, bad, or indifferent again, and we all work through what our challenges or expectations or wins were that day. But I think we really need to pull ourselves back, and we need to take the time to spend with one another, to learn about one another, to work through these things. And again, that's why I feel like my household is healthy, is because we take that time. And again, I've got a 5 and a 9-year-old, so it's a whole different ball of challenges. They're two boys that are 110% wide open. So, and I'd like to add something to what you're talking about to these leaders that are listening. I experienced something, luckily, where I grew up. I grew up on a Boy Scout reservation, and my father built a ropes course on this property that we lived on, and it was a pretty decent practice. One thing that I see in a lot of corporate America is teams, working as a team, and working through bringing the way that separation, that individual or those individuals that don't feel like part of the team. So when we created this ropes course, it was a challenging outdoor physical encounter that you had to go through. And what it took you and everyone around you to become a team. And it was exercises, James, like one, for instance, it was called a trust fall. It was a platform that sat up, it was around 5 feet off the ground, and you had to climb up on there, turn around, cross your arms, and fall back and let your team catch you. And that takes a lot of courage. But as soon as the first person does it and everyone catches them, that relief for that next person is like, okay, cool. We caught them. They're going to catch me. And and I know it sounds funny, but sometimes that one exercise would just bond that entire team in an instant. So maybe leaders need to start, again, it's not always what you're going to hear on Teams calls or Zoom calls or whatever it may be. Sometimes you need to pull yourself out of the environment completely. And this is something I preach a lot, is making yourself uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is not a bad thing. Being uncomfortable can be a very, very good thing, especially as leaders try to bring that team together. You need to make it a little bit uncomfortable for everyone to bond together to figure it out. Does that make sense?
That makes it, Bino. I'm over here smiling because I teach leading and managing the corporate culture, and I also developed a leadership program for one of our top programs out here at UTK. So you're saying a lot of things I think valuable, but I want to unpack some of the things you said. You was talking about time. You know, how Bino really takes the time to be with his family, to listen to them. I think a lot of times we operate with the idea that we're promised tomorrow, realizing that as soon as I finish this, or while I'm talking to you right now, I could drop dead just like that. Are we really grateful for the time that we have? And if we are grateful for the time that we have, how are we using it? You're telling God, hey, I'm grateful for this time that I have with my wife, with my kids, and I'm going to make sure we use it in a very effective manner so I can show them how much I really love them. I think that's important. I think it's important in leadership. And I think it ties into what you were saying about leadership. You know, when you're challenging yourself with activities, that alone is going to make you feel uncomfortable. And that discomfort is going to allow you to be able to be in a position, the right mindset to grow. So I'm a big believer in that. But I also heard you say you'll get on a platform, they'll fall backwards, and once one person do it, everybody else is willing to do it. So if you are a leader and you're going to do an activity like that, you should go first. Because I hear people say, you got to earn my trust. You got to earn my trust. Nope. Leaders got to be first willing to give trust. And once you give trust and you model the way, now your employees will follow, and then you'll be able to create an environment where they're willing to bond and all of those things. So there's a lot of leadership principles that Bino taught you. So I hope you all was able to unpack that. I thought that was great. I like the way you captured it. Bino, I want to ask you another question, and then we're going to go into a little bit of more tougher topics. What are your thoughts with food? You know, guys like us, man, we're trying to make sure we're counting our macros, eating right so we can build muscle, and cut body fat. What are your thoughts on food? Like, what is your personal take on it, your spiritual take, or what is some advice you can give to individuals that's listening?
Sure. Food, absolutely necessary. I mean, let's be honest. We are human machines. And for us to be and work and act at our most top level capacity, we have to fuel our bodies with good foods. So let me stress that, good foods. There is a lot of food at our fingertips that is not good for us. And you know what I'm talking about when it comes to fast foods and things like that. Now, listen, there are challenges and there are days that you're like, man, I didn't pack my lunch today. I got out of the house late. There are great alternatives still yet in fast food that you can go to. I used to teach a class to law enforcement back in the day, and it was called Health Food on the Road. And so we were teaching law enforcement officers how to, okay, if you aren't capable or didn't bring your lunch or whatever it may be, pull into a Wendy's and make a smart choice. Get the grilled chicken sandwich without anything and have the grilled chicken. They have, potatoes. They have things that are alternatives, so you can choose those right things. But to your point, we need to have food as fuel for our bodies. If we're not healthy and we're not active and we're not doing the things that we need to do, we're not going to be good stewards of society, period. We can't think right. We can't act right. We can't, sleep right, whatever it may be. We need to make sure we're getting the proper nutrients throughout the day. And so that, along with water and hydration, we need to make sure we're hydrated. We need to make sure that we're doing those things as well.
Love it, Bino. All right, I want to talk to you about this because, I have some people that give me pushback. They ask me, I was telling them I was in Bulgaria and people say, hey, can you rap? You know, some of the people looked at me and like, well, why would they think you can rap? Because you're black? And I was like, maybe. That might be the reason. And they're like, oh, that's a microaggression. I'm like, oh, well, I said, but I can spit some bars. So I spit some bars for them. But the thing that I was telling them is, you know, when I go to China, people assume that I can play basketball. That's cool. People may look at it and be offended by it. I'm not offended by it. I feel like it's an opportunity for me to engage and interact with people and give them an opportunity to listen to them, learn, and grow. I had an interaction when I was in the military. It really changed my whole outlook on this. It was a guy when I was getting out of the shower. He was trying to ask me a question, and I'm trying to put clothes on. And at this time, man, I'm confused. This is like before, you know, the whole way that we have with homosexuality. So I'm like, what is going on here? And the guy was like asking me questions about. He said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I don't have no clothes on. I'm like, man, can I at least put my clothes on first? So I put my clothes on, and he keeps looking at the shower, and I'm like, why is he looking at the shower? And he said, look, yo, do you mind? And I said, man, go ahead and ask the question. He said, have you ever pulled a 187? And I said, huh? And even the way he was squeezing, I'm like, what gun are you squeezing? But anyway, that's what he said. And I was like, oh, Snoop Dogg, 187 on Undercover Cop. So I knew what he was talking about. And I said, excuse me, what were you saying? He said, have you ever pulled a drive-by and killed somebody? And I was like, what? And when I looked in his eyes, like he was real. He really was. And I said, yo, all right, man, can you keep a secret? I said, and I'm looking at his chest like he's getting nervous. And I said, look, I got to tell you something, man. I got to be honest with you straight up. I saw myself on America's Most Wanted, and I got like 3 bodies, man, on me, like 3. And I said, I saw them calling James Williams to join the Air Force. So I was like, hey, I'm here. And I started running, you know, and I was like, hey, I could get it. And they gave me the paperwork, and I just jumped on it. Left from Raleigh, North Carolina, flew out to San Antonio, Texas, and now I'm here in basic training, man. And like, I got to make sure I don't get found out, because if I do, man, they're gonna probably give me the needle. I said, so you got to keep a secret. And like, his eyes are big, and I said, look, if you tell somebody, you're gonna be the 4th body. You understand? And he's like scared, and I was like, nah, man, tell me why did you ask me that? He said his mother, he's from Oregon, a little town in Oregon. If you've ever been out there, there are certain spots you don't see people that look like me. He said his mother used to make him watch the Portland news and would say, that's how they are. Then she rented Menace to Society, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's killing as soon as it come on. And then Juice with Tupac, love Tupac, God bless his soul. But they're very violent movies, and she said that's how they are. And when he said that to me, it hit me to where, what if I would have hit him? What if I would have fought him? What if I would have cussed him out? For one, I would have got put out of the military. But for 2, I would have reinforced everything it was that he believed. But by the end of basic training, he kept asking me questions until he felt comfortable. There's some people that we may judge as racist or prejudiced, but that could be just curious. You know, and he was curious. He didn't know how to ask the question based on societal standards or whatever, but we was able to build a relationship. And I was able to talk to him. So by the time we left basic training, he may have been put in a position to where he go from senior airman, staff sergeant, tech sergeant, you know, master sergeant, senior master sergeant, chief, to where he meets somebody like me. Now he may be willing to give them grace because he's able to see them differently because I gave him a different experience. So I say that to say, what are your thoughts when we're living in a society now where they cancel you for anything it is that you do or say because we don't like it, and we can say it's political reasoning or whatever? What are your thoughts? Like, do you think we've gone too far with the prejudice, the racism? Do you think we should be able to allow somebody to say, hey, I don't like you because you black? Should we be able to allow them to talk? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is a really tough one, James, and I don't understand why people automatically profile someone. Okay, so that's one thing that I don't get in my brain. I don't profile anyone. I want to get to know who that person is, and then from there, I can gauge whether I want to have a relationship with this person or not. So, it's an irritating fact because it happens on a daily basis. Those, not in your situation, but in my situation, it happened to me when I was younger. And it was because I was from Tennessee and I had an accent. I went to New York City and I spoke out, and this lady looked at me and she said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Tennessee." And she looked me up and down and she says, "Will you have shoes on your feet?"
Mm.
And I said, "Yes, I have shoes on my feet." And she said, "Well, I didn't think that people in Tennessee could afford to have shoes." So that, again, it's just a different way of life and how different parts of the country look at one another just because of their geography. That had nothing to do with skin color or anything. That all that was about was I lived in Tennessee. So we've got to figure out how to get past this. And let's be honest. There are so many categories out there within our nation. And we are the people that are above us are trying to separate all of us in some fashion. Us as the people need to be smart and more open-minded to the fact that no, it doesn't have to be this way. James and I are brothers no matter what. And I don't care what color his skin is or any of that. People need to learn how to take that and move forward with life and accept the fact that we are all different in some ways, but we are all still connected in many ways. And we have to keep that ahead of us. So don't be so quick to judge, because you never know what that person has gone through in their lifetime.
And I tell my students, I said, genetically, I think somewhere we're like 99% alike. So what we're really looking at is pigmentation. I said, and when we look at the pigmentation, you got to ask yourself, well, what is really white and black? This is black from what I've learned in school. This is brown. When I look at you, that is not white, it's not brown, but it's not red or whatever, but none of these things. So, and I think what I was telling you is I was confused when I learned about white and black. It was like, they're white and black. And then I said, well, mommy, what are they? Well, they're Asian. And well, what are they? They are Mexican. And I'm like, so what color are they? Oh, well, they're just, and to me, God is not the author of confusion. But if something is confusing, can we really say this is what God, a nation of God, this is what God would really want us to do? So this is my anger with these social constructs, because I tell people, I have friends that are homosexual, have a family member that's a transgender, have friends that are white, friends that's black. And there are some great people in all of them. The person that made me fall in love with God was actually an atheist that told me, hey, I'm not telling you not to believe, but know why you believe. And I think we're to me, I wish society was more of, think more critically, open your mind up, and try to figure things out for yourself. I tell my students all the time, don't listen to what I'm saying. I said, and when I'm saying don't listen, I'm saying don't just take my word for it. Go out and explore on your own. Really learn. Be curious. Learn and figure out what is your purpose, what is your path. But don't just act like I'm the knower of all. I'm not God in your life. But if I'm the image of God, God is in me, and I'm God in my life. So when I talk to you, I'm talking to your spirit, and I can feel your soul.
Right.
Beano or whatever was created, it dies and it stays here. And I try to tell people all the time, if who you are in this physical avatar was so important, why doesn't it go with us? Why does it decay? If you come up on a dead body, it all looks the same and it starts stinking, and all of that stuff. So why are we putting so much stock in something that's dying? So those are my thoughts on that.
No, I agree.
So let me ask you this, Bino. If you had your ideal world, if we could create this limitless society, how would it be? What would you like that world to look like?
Well, it's not tough. You know what? It's a world of acceptance. It's a world of love. It's a world of walking hand in hand. Sometimes I feel like that people forget to keep putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward. What's behind us is done. Let it go. I listened to T.D. Jakes, and he taught me a valuable lesson. And he did a sermon one time on let it go. If you get a chance, look that up because it spoke volumes to me. I mean, volumes to me, that I actually sat down and I wrote it out verbatim because it touched me that much. But my view on my perfect society is let's celebrate who we are. We live in the United States of America on top of that. We are the most fruitful nation in this world, and we can do so much to help our global family and friends and brothers and sisters. We've got to learn how to let some of this stuff go and accept who each and every one of us are and move forward. And that's how my perfect world would look.
I love it. I love it. You know, I was talking to my students today and we was talking about the bombing of Pearl Harbor. None of us was alive when it happened, but we was talking about it. You know, I was asking how did they feel about it? And they said, oh, it was bad. And I was like, yeah. I said, what do you think about the bombing of Hiroshima? And some of them didn't even know. And I was like, yeah, that was how we retaliated. I said, how many people died at Pearl Harbor? I said, and all death is important. And I think it was right around maybe a little over or close to 2,700. And, you know, and I said, you know how many people died with Hiroshima and we bombed two cities? I said it was like 129,000 and then 230,000 or something of that nature. I said, so when you retaliate, you actually end up retaliating and doing a lot worse. You know, and we see the wars that's going on now. And I'm saying that to say that when we don't let things go, we actually doing worse to ourselves than what that situation did. And I remember I was doing some study about the crucifixion of Jesus, and it was like, what was worse than that? So what used to happen, they said was worse than the crucifixion was when you kill somebody, they will whip you and beat you, and then they will make you carry around the dead carcass of the person that you killed. And as that body deteriorate, everything start going into you, the poison, and they say it's like a horrible death. Well, when you think about everything that we dwell on from the past creates this depression. And it make us not be able to fully enjoy the present moment. And we can't enjoy the future, which the future is never there anyway, because it creates an anxiety about it. You think about, well, if this is what I've done, what's going to happen? But when you're in the moment and you just let it go and let God. And God could be science, it could be chi, it could be Buddha, it could be whatever it is that you believe. Because ultimately, I believe we're all believing in the same thing. It's just we're here in the United States. I love Yeshua, Jesus. So this is my path. But when you don't let things go, you can't accept the gift that God is trying to give you. And that could be a gift of friendship. That could be a gift of opportunities in this world. So I'm with you on that. And I think it would be a beautiful world because you think about what's going on with gangs, retaliation, or, you know, my family member did this to me, so I'm not going to forgive him. And then I don't know about you, Bino. I have been mad at people sometimes and I'm like, I don't even remember what the hell I'm mad at them about. But I just know I'm supposed to be mad every time I see them. Right? Like, and you think about that, you know, but when you start loving, it feels so much more free and so much more better. So I love your society. I love that idea.
Yeah. Because I mean, listen, man, it all comes down to the acceptance of who we are as individuals. And again, I don't care who you pray to or speak to or worship. It doesn't matter to me because I agree with you. I think it's all a common end result that we're all after. Okay, then whatever that person or thing or whatever it may be, dwell on that, but also utilize that to move yourself forward, to let those things go. I've shared something with you a couple of different times, and I'm going to share it with the folks that are listening to this. This is a lesson that I learned a long time ago, and I love sharing this because it hits home. Always remember, he who angers you controls you. So anytime you get into a circumstance and you get so upset and you get so mad at that person, understand they have you right where they want you. So don't let them control you. Don't get angry. Let it go.
Mm. And Bino, I can't think of the name of the scripture, and that's not important. I'm not one of them people that know the scriptures, but I know it goes like this: be slow to anger, be slow to anger. And if you're slow to anger and you're quick to love or listen or be into the moment, you get to distance yourself away from just reacting. I heard about this story and it was kind of sad. This young lady found out her boyfriend was cheating on her, which I don't even like that term. Nobody can cheat on you. They can't cheat on you. If you choose to leave them, they cheated on themselves. They cheated themselves out of an experience to have you. Or they may hurt themselves because they feel the guilt or remorse or whatever. So I don't even like that term, but whatever. They took that on, created a narrative, and it angered them. Mm-hmm. So when they see their former boyfriend with this girl, they start exchanging words. She gets upset. She goes in her purse, pulls out a gun, shoot a shot, like boom, like not even trying to shoot him, but just shooting in that direction. Where the bullet goes off and hits the girl and kill her. So this young lady is thinking that, well, I didn't mean to kill her. Nothing is going to happen. They end up giving her 18 years in prison. And she was 21 years of age because of her anger. Anger. Not being able to control the anger. And now this guy's going to go on, continue to be with other women, all of these things. And now she's going to prison because she couldn't control her anger. I heard a rapper, Jadakiss, say a long time ago, he said, anger is just one letter short of the word danger.
Wow. I love that.
So when you think about what anger can create, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? And I'm a 43-year-old man now. I don't know exactly how old you are, Bino, but at this age, I just want peace, love, and joy.
Yeah.
So what are the things that really motivate you to be, this wise, sage, and peaceful person that you are now? What gets you excited when you wake up in the morning?
Well, first and foremost, that I'm waking up in the morning. Let's be honest. That God has given me the life to wake up again. Second is my wife and my boys. They are my world. That's why I put so much focus. I even throw my 2 little dogs in there because they bring me joy and happiness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those are the things that make me get out of bed every day and be the father, the husband, the son, whatever my job is. That's what gets me out of bed and brings me joy. And knowing that, you know what? There are going to be challenges ahead of me through today. But guess what? I'm going to take each and every one of them. I'm going to accept them because, again, I truly believe God blesses us in many different ways. And sometimes you're so angry and you're so mad about a situation that you've gotten yourself into. But also, I feel like those are challenges that God puts upon our path to say, hey, you know what? Always remember who's in charge. Who are you supposed to be living for?
I love it.
And it brings it back. You know what I'm saying? So, and let me be honest with you, James. The past year, I've been really angry. And I want to tell you why. My brother was diagnosed with brain cancer. And it's been eye-opening in a lot of very many ways. But God has brought people into my life, dude, that have gone through the same type of cancer that my brother was going through. So God was bringing me people to help me understand what was happening and what was going to happen through this term. But when my brother passed 4 days before Christmas, I became very angry with God. And I'm still working through that. And this is just being totally truthful and honest with you and everyone that is listening to this. I feel like it's okay to be angry at God. And the reason I say that is because he knows I'm still thinking about him. God knows that I'm still thinking about God and putting him in my life. And he understands that's a way to get my attention, is that it's an affirmation that he's still working in my life, even though he knows how angry I am with him right now. And that's tough, dude. It's really tough.
And I would say first and foremost, Bino, thank you for sharing that, being vulnerable and willing to share that. And you know how I feel, man. I hate, that you had to go through the experience. I know your brother's still living through you. What Bino is saying is very powerful, and I want y'all to really listen to this, because I think a lot of times when we talk about God, it's all this, everything's good and we're happy, and God, as long as you're living for God, all life is going to be great. That's not the case. There's been many times that I cuss God out, and you can't cuss God out, but I have tried to. And there was many times where after I start saying what I say, God is like, "Are you done?" And then I would hear something. God helped me transition from JMU to University of Tennessee. God has helped me transition to what's about to happen in my life, and people are going to see things, but that's God. I don't really believe God knows everything he created inside of us, our aggression, our passion, which could sometimes lead to anger. So God knows who we are. I think what happens and hurt us, and I hope people are hearing this, when you choose to, no, I'm not really upset, and you're lying to God, because you're lying to yourself, and you are God. You're an extension of God. I think God wants you to be truthful. I'm a big believer, you got to be honesty. And honesty is not, I'm being honest to everybody else. You're being honest with yourself. But you also have an awareness to understand that God is everywhere. God sees and knows and feels everything that you feel. And then you got to be responsible for, how can I, God, get back to being or living life on a purpose the way that you have me? So Bino is saying, yes, look, I get up, I'm excited, man. I'm grateful for my wife and kids. But I ain't gonna lie, man, it hurts not having my brother here. I have not buried a brother yet. And I can only imagine. I talk to my brothers every day. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you all, oh, yeah, James is still going to be happy. No, I'm going to be mad as hell. Like I loved him. You know what I mean? So I get where you come from. And I think God wants that honesty, because I think God, can use that for us to use that pain, in other situations to be a testimony for other people. And it'll be a time where Bino will be talking and it's like, I see what happened. But right now may not be that time. And I think people need to be able to understand that and respect that. So I really appreciate that. And I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm one of those believers that think that God does things for a reason. I truly believe that. And my brother was an amazing man, and listening to the stories of the people that came through during his ceremony, and just understanding how the things that my brother did and touched their lives, that was awesome. Those are the things like, holy crap, my brother did that, because I mean, he's your brother, and you've always got that joking, whatever it may be, that banter that goes back and forth. But you start hearing those things of beautiful times that he shared and did, and things that no one ever knew that people were telling me going through that line.
I love it, Bino.
But yeah, so it was it's just tough, but I'm growing each and every day, man. There are days worse than others, as you can imagine. But I know I'm going to get there. I'm going to get through this.
Yeah, and thank you. And I know you will too, man. And honestly, man, anything you need from me, you need to talk or whatever. Absolutely. Seriously, man. We have about 10 minutes left. Is there anything that you can share with people that can help them, live a limitless life, and to mind, body, and spirit? Anything that you can think of that can help people that you say, hey, this is the one thing I really want to share with you all, for you all to consider and think about.
Absolutely, man. So if there's something heavy on your heart and you feel like that you're being spoken to by God, truly listen. Take the time and stop and listen, because you may miss a huge blessing or an opportunity. You need to always be mindful of everything that's going on around you and your surroundings. I'll tell you a quick story about that. I was on a plane one time and I had a great conversation with this gentleman on the plane. We were sitting back in coach and almost at the back of the plane, and we talked and talked and talked. We landed, got off the plane. This guy comes up behind me, he taps me on the shoulder, goes, "Hey man, you know who that guy was that you were sitting beside?" And I was like, "I have no idea who that guy was." I said, "But we had a great conversation." Turned out he was one of the wealthiest men in the world.
Wow.
So you never know who you are sitting beside, standing beside. Don't judge that book by its cover, because you never, ever know who that person may be. And I treated him just exactly like I would want you or you would want me to treat him, as a person, as a human being. So don't take that for granted, man. Don't take that for granted. Make sure you treat every individual as a person, not as a celebrity, not as somebody with rich and fame. Treat them as a person. That's all they want. Is that what you want, James? Do you want people to treat you? Okay, then reciprocate that. So the other thing that I will say is take a chance, man. Take a chance. You never know until you take a chance. So if it's something that you feel like that there's a job goal or there's an opportunity of a lifetime, listen, you're not always going to be a winner. You're going to be a loser sometimes too. But always learn from each and every experience, whether it's a win or a loss. That's all I have for you, brother.
I love it. All right, so let me wrap up what Bino just said. And thank you, Bino, man, for being able to be on the show. I do want to say this before I wrap up. If you want people to follow you, where can they follow you at? Where can they find you? Anything?
Sure. Well, not that I'm a big deal, so please don't take it that way. But you can find me on Instagram. It's Bino_Wallace. And, of course, on Facebook, Bino Wallace. And, that's the only two outlets that I use, to be honest with you.
Love it. And Bino is a big deal, and you all are a big deal, too. So I want you to all really remember that and really take in what he just said. Treat people the way you want to be treated, kind of like the golden rule, and it kind of goes to one of Jesus' greatest principles said, love God with all your heart and love people as you love yourself. So treat people the way you want to be treated, I think is extremely important, but also take chances. I know Bino is where he is in his life because he took chances. He's an entrepreneur. He's always taking chances. And it's only calculated risk and chances that I took in my life that got me to where I am. So I want to leave you all with this. Bino said this, and I want to reiterate it. When you wake up in the morning, make sure you find something to be grateful for. For me, I'm just grateful that I have an opportunity to breathe and have an opportunity to have another positive impact in this world. I live on purpose in that manner. And then I go in the mirror, I throw cold water on my face, and I start talking to myself, tell myself, I love you, boy, you look good. Talk to yourselves. Love who you are. Look at yourself in the mirror and love all aspects of you. And then I like to say this that I'm going to leave you all with. Today is a glorious day. And for 86,400 seconds, I will give my excellence and my best until I'm laid to rest. I'm abundantly blessed and never stressed. Be better than your best and never rest on your last success. Check your life and be limitless. Be limitless, my people, and thank you for listening. Thank you again, Bino. Truly, truly appreciate it, my brother.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Let me cut this off, Bino.